future of medicine. It's an important topic because it gives us insight about how the research in the upcoming years will be like. It gives us also insight how the medical education should be for these generations. And we should know that this era, there is a major change in the field of the research in medicine and even in all the scientific research as a whole. Our meeting agenda will include a timeline of medicine. We will take the history of medicine to be able to know where we are now and what the future will be like. Then we will go through some of the glossary terms like multiple disciplines, subspecialization, multidisciplinary research, interdisciplinary research, and transdisciplinary research, as these terms are now very important to know and to identify how will our research projects will be like. Then we will go, after knowing our past and our present status, to travel to the future. To travel to the future, we should know the major research grants that are present nowadays, mainly from the National Institute of Health and its subdivisions. We need to know also the term global reach. What does it mean, the global reach? Then we will go through the most recent topics of research, like the gene editing and decoding of the disease, rehabilitation engineering, tissue engineering and 3D printing of the organs, imaging techniques and advances in the imaging techniques, drug delivery systems and the advances. And lastly, we will go through what is called the telehealth. Firstly, we would like to go to the past, travel to the past, and to know what is the history of medicine. How did the medicine begin? 3,300 years BC, before Christ, or what is called the Stone Age. Most of the medicine was only herbal medicine. Then there emerged the Chinese medicine and the Indian medicine, or what is called the Ayurveda, which are an alternative medicine, and there are some residuals of it nowadays. At 2600 BC, Imhotep in Egypt arrived, and he was a physician, besides being the prime minister of the Old Kingdom in Egypt, and he described the diagnosis and treatment of 200 diseases. Then through the 1,000 years later, there were the medical papyrus in Egypt for the gynecology, Ramsesium, Edwin Smith, which was considered as a textbook on surgery and anatomy, Ebers for the cancer and treatment of cancer, Hurst, London, Berlin, Chester, and Brooklyn papyri. Then also 1,000 years later, there emerged the specialization in Egypt.
I'm sorry.
Please, can all be muted?
Please mute your microphone. Please. Henry, please mute your microphone.
Could the host mute all, and I will. Could the host mute all? Could the host mute all? Thank you. After that, 420 years BC, Hippocrates came with his oath that we know today, and he was considered the father of the medicine in the Greek. era. Then emerged the Gallen era, where clinical-based medicine has emerged, that what is called clinical medicine that is based on observation and experience. Then a long time passed in the medieval era. In the Western countries and the Islamic countries, there appeared the Islamic, Andalusian, and Arab medicine. After that, starting from 1500 to the beginning of the 18th century, there emerged, or the 19th century, there emerged a new era where there were the physicians tried to reject the myths from and refine the medicine from the myths. There developed the anesthesia, surgery, vaccines, and microscopes. Afterwards, there appeared the modern medicine. On 1985, or the late 20th century, there has been a great advance in the medicine, where we created, we knew the automated DNA, the PCR, the surgical robot was invented, the DNA fingerprint was known, and the capsule endoscopy. And after the year 2000, there emerged a great achievement in the medical field, where the Human Genome Project was completed. There appeared the telesurgery, what is called the bionic eye, and we will know what is the bionic eye. There is now a face and uterus transplant done with some success. There is kidney that is grown in vitro. There is liver that is grown from stem cells, 3D printing for the skull, artificial pancreas. This is a sample from the medical papyrus. This is Imhotep. Imhotep was the inventor of Djoser's step pyramid. He was an architect. He was author of ancient wisdom. He was the high priest. He was the prime minister of the old kingdom. He was an astronomer. He was a writer, besides being a physician. I'd like to interact with you. Do you find him doing much, or he has a lot of majors? He is astronomer, physician, priest, writer, architect, beside being a physician. This is the six-step tiered pyramid that he invented. He was the inventor of this step pyramid. I would like to know what's your reflection. Would you please, who can answer, raise his hand? I would like that some can answer my question. You know, there is a raise hand option. You can get it from the participants. You can put the mouse on the participants. Anyone can tell me what he sees. Okay, so can Ala, can you answer?
Yeah, Doctor, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so basically, I think that Imhotep was doing a lot of things, and but I always think that this was the basic thing. That was the nature in these years, because the branches of science were not so expanded like nowadays. So it was some sort of pretty easy for one to be specialized more than a field of science, because the sciences were pretty much smaller than now. So a single individual can study much more fields than nowadays, and have a good knowledge at all of those fields.
Thank you. That's what I needed to know.
Exactly, that was my opinion too.
Thank you. Thank you. It's not only Amhotep that has all these measures. It was the feature of the science in this era. In the old era, he can be a philosopher, an astronomer, an engineer, an architect, and mathematician, and whatever, and can be a physician also. Thus, in the old era, as the mass of the science was not so huge, there can be multiple disciplines. Every scientist had multiple disciplines. Then, as the science grows, we go to specialization, okay? Then, as the mass of knowledge increases, we went to the sub-specialization. And this was true till the end of the 20th century, okay? But what about this era in the 21st century? Is this true? Or there is a major change that is occurring now, okay? We had multiple disciplines in the past, then we went through the history to specialization, and then we had the sub-specialization. But now this is the era of the interdisciplinary research and the interdisciplinary research project, and that's what we are coming to explain now. Before we explain, we want to know what is the discipline, what is the multidisciplinary, what is the interdisciplinary, and what is the transdisciplinary. Can anyone participate with me? Can anyone guess what's the difference between each of these four terms? Disciplinary, multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, and transdisciplinary. These are four terms that we need to know the difference between them. So Yasmin can tell.
When I hear the term multidisciplinary approach and research papers, for example, it means that this research paper is aiming at solving multiple problems or observing multiple variants in a certain situation. That's my input on this question.
Okay, Mohammed.
I would like to say Dr. Munawara Tbilisi wallah.
So it's hard to explain terms that are too close to each other, okay? So I like to give an example to explain. If you are the community, okay, and I'm going to present you my research, okay? It's like I'm giving you a plate with multiple fruits like that, okay? I'm giving you apple, pomegranate, banana, orange, and so on. When you take this, when I give you this plate, can you benefit from all the fruits, or you will take one and leave the others? You will take what you need most, okay? This is like the research. When I'm giving you a paper or an article or a research about the pathology, okay? Or another research about the pediatrics, another research about anesthesia, okay? I'm not giving you all what you need about this process. So if you need iron, you will take the apple. If you need vitamin C, you will take the orange. If you need potassium, you will take the banana, and so on. That is the disciplinary research, okay? What if I gave you a slice from each of these fruits? You can make use of them better, okay? And this is what is called multidisciplinary. So if I'm investigating cancer breast, for example, okay, and I'm giving you it from the pathologic point of view only, can I treat the patients? Or I'm giving you some idea about the process, but I am not treating the patient. If I'm giving you the treatment of the cancer of the breast, have you investigated the genetic basis of the cancer of breast? No. This is the difference between disciplinary and multidisciplinary. Multidisciplinary means if I have cancer breast issue, so I'm giving the oncology, I get the pathologist, the oncologist, the surgical oncologist, and we are doing a research together, okay? So the community can make benefit from the output of my research better than if I'm only one discipline, and this is called multidisciplinary. But still, I can separate, I can tell this is the pathology, I can tell this is the surgery, this is the radiotherapy, this is the chemotherapy. They are separate in the same research project. They are still separate. They are not merged together, okay? Thus, this is the difference between disciplinary and multidisciplinary. What if I gave you a plate of fruit salad? So you have taken all the items in the large plate, but in a small serving that you can process and you can make use of it better. This is called the interdisciplinary research. I can identify the banana from the apple, from the orange, but still in the same spoon, there will be all the disciplines merged together. This is called the interdisciplinary research. It's some sort of better merging of the disciplines to get or to address a special issue or a problem. So it's better for a complex problem to be addressed by or investigated through the interdisciplinary research, okay? So I have this disciplinary research where every discipline is totally separate. I have the multidisciplinary where we can share a research project, but still our disciplines are separable. And then we go to the interdisciplinary research which give us a more usable product. The product is of more use to the community. What if I blended this and I gave you a fruit smoothie? Sure, it will be more usable and it will be easily processed, and you can make benefit from it more. In the transdisciplinary research, you cannot identify the components that you take. You get the product without, you cannot know where is the raspberry from the lemon, from the orange, from you don't identify. This is what is called the transdisciplinary research, and for sure it gives answers for the issues that we find without in a more usable form for the community. So as we move in the timeline, we moved from that one person has multiple disciplines in the old eras to the modern life where we have disciplinary research. Then we go through the multidisciplinary research, the interdisciplinary research, pathing towards the transdisciplinary research. As the biggest outstanding problems require complex solutions, So the health problem is not only a health problem. When I speak about the cancer breast, it's not about a malignancy. It has a health problem, it's a social problem, it's an economic problem. These problems are complex and are wrapped together. When you speak about the Duchenne muscle dystrophy, when you speak about the Alzheimer's disease, all these are not merely health problems. They are not merely diseases, but they are complex problems. And as they are complex problems, we need to go through the interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary vision for our research. And it's said by Diane Murith, if these were easy to solve, someone would have already solved them. As we have these problems nowadays, so we need a new approach to solve these problems. So let's travel to the future after we have navigated through the past, and now we know that we should have our interdisciplinary research projects. To know what's the future, to foresee the future, we should know what our research projects in the global health professionals, how are they thinking, and what are the major projects in the globe. The National Institutes of Health are 27 institutes. One of them is called the National Institute of Biomedical Imaging and Bioengineering. It has 4 divisions. One of them is the division of the Applied Science and Technology, or Biomedical Imaging, the Bioengineering division, the Division of Health Information Technology, and the Division of Interdisciplinary Research. And this is of importance to you, as this division has training programs for the undergraduate students, not only the PhD students. And I will share with you in the chat the fact sheets of the National Institute of Health, as it has some opportunities for you as undergraduate students. Now we want to know the term that is called the global reach. What is the global reach? Can you guess from the words what a global reach means? It's not a medical term, it's a business term.
It's basically when someone or something reaches all around the world.
Excellent, yes. This is what is meant by the global reach. It's a term used in business, okay? It's meant to, that I can, my product, I can disseminate my product to the whole globe through the internet, simply, okay? But this term nowadays is important in the health, okay? This term in medicine means working to engage with international collaborators to advance health, research, and education by engaging partners around the globe, okay? So the global reach is now adopted in the medical field. We need to work together through international collaborators to advance health, research, and education by engaging partners around the globe. This includes interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary research projects where there is intersection of medicine, biomedical engineering, humanities also, and entrepreneurship. Now we need the entrepreneurship to disseminate what the products that we have from our research, okay? So let's have some stretching, okay? We discussed together the timeline of medicine and the history of medicine from the Stone Age to the 21st century. We discussed the idea of the multiple disciplines. The scientists had multiple disciplines, then they goes through a specialization and the disciplinary work. Then there was the era of the subspecialization, especially in the second half of the 20th century. Then after the year 2000, the concept of the multidisciplinary research has emerged, then the transdisciplinary research projects. Then we travel to the future, and to travel to the future, we need to know what we are working on nowadays in the field of research. So we discussed what is the National Institute of Health and the major divisions, and we know the term of global reach, okay? Through the National Health Institute of Health and its division, we will know the research work about what is called gene editing or decoding of the disease. We will go through the rehabilitation engineering, the tissue engineering, the 3D print, the imaging, the drug delivery system, and the telehealth. What is the gene editing? Can anyone tell?
Ma'am, by like bioengineering, when we edit a specific gene to get a purpose result.
What a certain gene? I didn't hear.
Excuse me, ma'am. Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, I would like to
May I
hear the
answer?
answer again.
I was just saying, ma'am, that gene
May I
editing
answer?
specifically when we edit a gene or we make some changes, specific
Yes.
changes by
Perfect.
bioengineering to get a specific result.
Thank you. Perfect. Genome editing is a method that permits change the DNA of many organisms. It can be a plant, a virus, a human, or bacteria, animal, or human, okay? It's a method that permits the change in the DNA of organisms, okay? As a fact, that humans have approximately 20,000 genes arranged in their chromosomes. Mice and humans share about 85% of their genes. Is it important to know this fact? Mice and human, yes. Why?
Because
in very many experiments
Help to experiment on mice.
That's why we make the experiments, most of our experimental studies on the mice, okay?
yes.
So genetic diseases include common diseases such as cancer and diabetes, and you had a lecture yesterday about the cancer, the genetics of the cancer. Okay, diabetes also has a genetic predisposition. These are common diseases that has genetic predispositions. Even the hyperlipidemias and the cholesterolemias, and these diseases are very common and have genetic basis. However, also there are also rare diseases such as Duchenne muscle dystrophy, Huntington's disease, and cystic fibrosis, sickle cell anemia are also genetically based. But we should be aware that changing or editing the DNA of the humans can lead to physical changes. It can change a trait. And also can change disease risk, okay? It can increase or decrease the disease risk. Scientists use different technologies to do this. It's not our scope today. There is the new emerging CRISPR and the previous TALEN and other methodologies for gene editing to cut and to put the genes. It can be the term decoding of a disease means that I can move a gene from one side to another, for example, as in the sickle cell anemia, or add or remove a gene. This can be used in the treatment of sickle cell anemia, diabetes. Also, decoding of the genome of the parasites can lead to their eradication. It can be used in eradication of microbes and viruses as well. Okay, so decoding of disease does not mean that I should work on humans only. We can eradicate the parasites, we can eradicate the microbes and viruses through the decoding mechanisms. Okay, we can also modulate or change the cellular immune responses in chronic human viral infections as the HIV. The National Institute of Health has a huge mega project called the somatic cell genome editing. Why somatic? Can we edit the germ cell genome? What do you think?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am, up to some extent.
Somatic cells
Is
have
it
the
ethical?
ability to differentiate into any type of cell.
The germ cells that has the ability to differentiate. Okay, you mean that?
Well, when we edit the genes in somatic cells and we blend them per se in a certain organ, if we replace a recessive gene with a dominant gene or a dominant variation of the gene, when we plant the cell, it will show the characteristic of the dominant gene, and that's a certain methodology of treating diseases caused by genetic mutations or recessive.
Perfect. So when I work on somatic cell genome, I will modify the characteristics, the genetics of this organism. Okay. But what if I worked on the germ cells? What will happen?
If we work on the germ cell, the genes that we plant will be transferred to the next generations.
Yes.
That's
so I will not affect
if we want
a single
them,
organism. Okay. If
yes, you'll
there
affect
is
the following generations.
Is it ethical?
Ma'am, if
humans,
we'll talk,
no.
well, basically it's not ethical, but if we'll talk about ethics, then there will be no science.
Yes.
Well, it's not ethical in humans, and there is an agreement between countries that prohibits in utero gene therapy because it's considered non-consensual for the baby, and it could have side effects that we don't know of yet. So if we do in utero gene therapy, you'll have to terminate the baby within 2 weeks, within the first 2 weeks, because it can't be born. We don't know the traits it will carry or how the gene therapy that we are going to do will affect other traits in his body.
Okay, so the field of genome editing, okay, has major ethical considerations and should the scientists that work in this field should be restrict to the ethical guidelines. Okay, firstly, there is an issue of safety. What if you cut or added the sequence in a wrong site? Okay, it will lead to a catastrophic outcome. Okay, also the gene therapy on an embryo, as you told us, has ethical issues. The gene working on the germ cells is also carries ethical considerations. Even also persons that will edit traits that is not important. For example, I want to be an athlete, or I want to have blue eyes, or I want to have fair skin, or something like that, which is not important. It also has some ethical issues. Okay. So let's have a short break. This is a prosthetic tool from ancient Egyptian medicine. This this is the foot of a mummified foot of an ancient Egyptian who has amputated too, and they replaced it by this prosthetic wood and leather prosthesis. What about today? This is called a rehabilitation engineering. Okay. Nowadays, there is great advances in this field. That is called the rehabilitation engineering. It's used to develop technological solutions and devices to assist individuals with disabilities. It can be a prosthetic limb. It can be helping patients with, for example, spinal cord injuries, helping patients with a stroke to move or to have control over the devices around them. It can aid the recovery of physical and cognitive functions, such as the cochlear implant in the ear for those that have lost their ability to hear. So this is called the rehabilitation engineering. There is also advances in the kinematics to analyze the human motion. You know, now these artificial limbs that you can see, he is running on the treadmill. He can run even faster than he can do with his original limb. Okay, how can we achieve this? It's by the kinematics to analyze the human motion, the muscle, the electrophysiology, the brain activity, so that he can more accurately monitor human functions and prevent the injuries. Here he can tie the shoe tie by his prosthetic hand. Okay, this is a very fine movement that's not easy except by having a major control, dexterous, perfect control on his
fine motor function.
Okay, so there is also, it includes also the modulation of organ function. For example, the interventions for the urinary or fecal incontinence or sexual disorders, okay? Also the neuromodulation of the peripheral nervous system in cases of the spinal cord injury. The prosthetic limbs are motor prostheses, but there are also sensory prostheses. We have cochlear and retinal implants that can restore or partly restore some of the lost function of hearing and vision. We want also these are the rehabilitation engineering, but what about the tissue engineering? Can we build tissue that is lost by tumor, by injury. To know that, we should know the concept of the tissue engineering. What is the tissue? You studied in the first years in the basic science that a tissue is composed of cells, extracellular matrix, okay, or we can tell it tell that it's termed a scaffold, okay, and the growth factors besides the environment, okay. These are the components of any tissue. We need cells, we need extracellular matrix or the scaffold, the skeleton, okay, and the bioactive substances or the growth factors, and we need a force to get these all together into a shape, okay? This is the principal concept of the tissue engineering. How can I get the scaffold? It can be a plastinated model, okay? And then I grow the cells over these tissues that I can grow stem cells of an organ on a plastinated model. And this is done in the tissue engineering of the trachea, for example, a plastinated tracheal model, and then we grow the cells over it. Or it can be the extracellular matrix of the of a living organism, okay? This is the heart, okay, the pocrine heart of a pig, and this is the cellulized heart. What is decellulized heart? All the cells are removed. This white heart is a decellulized heart without muscles. It's only the extracellular matrix, or what is called the scaffold. It's the principle that we can build a prosthetic valve, for example, okay? But this is a heart, complete heart, okay? If they get the tissue, they remove the cells from it by special techniques, and after 48 hours, we can have the heart decellulized without any living cell. We remove the cells to put the cells of the same person so that no immune response will arise against him, because you know that in organ transplantation, even there is a matching, there will be an immune response from the graft to the host and from the host to the graft, okay? So tissue engineering has the concept that we have cells, scaffold, growth factors, and the environment that gives this all together, or a force that forces these elements together to into a certain shape, okay? This is also one of the latest advances in medicine that is called the bionic eye. This is a 3D print of the eye. This is a prototype. It's not widely used. It works by capturing videos via camera and sends the signal towards wirelessly to the undamaged cells in the retina, or it can directly go and send the signals to the visual cortex, okay? So what is the 3D print of human organs and limbs? These are some of the samples or prototypes that are made by the tissue engineering through the 3D print, okay? They try to make skin grafts, small arteries, bladders, full trachea is been built. The heart is also made by the 3D printing, but it was not totally perfect. Okay, they are. It needs more precise prototypes to be used in animals. Okay, in Rice University in Houston, they have succeeded to create through the bioengineering the air sacs of the lung, where there will be exchange of air and blood through this hydrogel model, okay, by the 3D printer technique. Another type of the rehabilitation engineering is the computer interfaces. What's meant by the computer interfaces? Can anyone guess from this title? So
I guess maybe it has something to do with like Stephen Hawking issue when he had some sort of neurological disorder and he was able to speak or so on. They made some sort of a device that's attached to his body, and he was just speaking. He was typing. Yeah, no, he was not speaking. He was typing in that device, and that the words were just inputted into a computer, and that computer was reading the words that Stephen Hawking typed loudly. Maybe it has something to do with these.
okay.
Apes.
Okay, in severely impaired persons, they can take your thoughts, the thoughts of the patient, okay, and change it into electrical signals that can either write, for example, as this model, he thinks of the alphabet and the computer is texting what he thinks of, okay, or he can use these thoughts to go to be put wirelessly to a computer, for example, or a smartphone that moves, for example, the chair that he is sitting on. Okay, so brain-computer interface is taking the signals, the electrical signals from the human brain and transferring it into electrical signals that can either text or a TV or a mobile phone or whatever, or a robot, to that the patient can interact with the surrounding environment where he was previously severely impaired. Okay, this is called the brain-computer interface. We spoke about the tissue engineering. We said that we have advances in this field, prosthetic valves, prosthetic limbs, prosthetic organs, okay? There is the 3D printing for skin, 3D printing for trachea, 3D printing for even the heart. But as I told you, it's not all perfect, or all it's not all, they are not all usable, okay? For example, the bionic eye, the patient can only see the outlines of the things. He cannot see perfectly. Also the cochlear implant, he cannot hear perfectly. But some other organs may be fatal if you have a trial to begin your your trial or surgical trial on humans. Okay, who knows who is Paolo Macchiarini? Does anyone heard about this scientist before? No one? There was a big debate a few years ago about his acts and his research work. Do you know, anyone have an idea about him? Okay. This is Paolo Macchiarini. He used the 3D printing of the trachea. He used a prosthetic trachea in his patients. He was an Italian scientist. His specialty was the regenerative medicine. His PhD was on regenerative medicine. Beginning from 2008, he tried the transplantation of trachea. He began from trachea from the cadavers by the decellularization method. Then through the tissue engineering, he grows the cells of the patient to cellulize the decellularized cadaveric trachea. But the patients died, okay? He said that they died because they are extremely ill. They are terminal cancer patients. So he tried another thing. He tried his this practice on the young individuals with car accidents or major accidents who have tracheostomy site, okay? And he underwent tracheal transplantation. He used the plastinated and the cadaveric prosthesis, okay? He used the two types of prosthesis. He had research that was published in the Lancet. He took photos with his patients that while they are laughing and they are smiling and they are very well. But through a few years, 7 out of his 8 patients died, okay? And he was accused of malpractice. Some defended him, and there was a major issues in the field of medicine. His ex-co-authors accused him of falsifying the results of his research on animal and then on the humans, and that he underwent operations that are not needed for the young patients of car accidents. The only one that survived was because he extended what and did a replacement for his transplant. Okay. After debate for years, 8 of his published papers in the Lancet were retracted, and he was accused of negligence and was handed to 16 months in prison because they cannot prove that he is a criminal and death of his patients, because he said they may have died for another reason. Okay. This is that raises the issue of ethics in our medical practice. He had enthusiasm to succeed in his clinical trials. He falsified some of his the results on his animal models, and then began the clinical trial on humans. And when he found that the patients died, he put wrong information about their cause of death, as if they were dead because of the cancer or because they were extremely ill. And then he went to perform his trials on young individuals, okay? So the advances in medicine should be evidence-based and should move step by step. before putting a procedure to be, especially if it's life-threatening, like tracheal transplant, on the human trial, we should have evidence that this will work on humans, okay? So what's next in the field of the rehabilitation and the tissue engineering? They are working now on rehabilitation robotics. The robotics can be used not only to as assistant devices or for investigation, but also can be used as a therapy or therapy aids. There is what is called the virtual rehabilitation, you know, the virtual reality that you can see in the medical education on the skeleton, for example, of the human body, of the virtual reality of the anatomy, for example. There is what is called virtual rehabilitation, where there can be a simulation for the exercises, either physically or the cognitive rehabilitation at home. What's called the tele-rehabilitation, so that by software we can provide the tele-care or tele-rehabilitation at the homes, okay? There are also the physical prosthetics, such as the smarter artificial legs and exoskeletons, upper limbs, hands, for example. What is the Bionic Man? Have any one of you heard about it? Not the movie. Have anyone heard about the Bionic Man? I'm providing you with the link at the National Institute of Bioimaging and Bioengineering, where there is a model of the Bionic Man there. Does anyone know who is the Bionic Man? The first world Bionic Man is the first robot of human made entirely of prosthetic parts, okay? It's gathered by a robotician from many universities. It can walk, talk, and even have breathing and heartbeats. It has a kidney, okay? But it does not have a stomach or intestine, okay? The only two organs that are not present in this Bionic Man are the stomach and the intestine. These are the technologies used in the Bionic Man, and these are the scientists that have participated in creating this Bionic Man. It's very costly. It costs $1 million. Okay, it has a wireless brain-computer interface that we have discussed. It has flexible electrodes. It has microneedle patches, and I will tell you what are the microneedle patches in the drug delivery system. It has a blood clot emulator so that the blood will not clot inside the heart. This is an important device because, you know, when using a ventricular assisted device, there is a risk always of blood clotting. So this blood clot emulator dissolves the blood clots or prevents the formation of a blood clot or thrombosis. There are implantable sensors, interstitial pressure pump, and this is very important. The interstitial pressure pump helps presenting the drug to, for example, a tumor. You know, when you put give a patient a drug, a chemotherapy for cancer, for example, if the pressure inside the tumor is higher than the pressure outside its interstitium, the tumor will not receive the chemotherapeutic that will kill it. So this pressure interstitial pump modulates the environment so that it assists the delivery of the chemotherapeutic into the tumor, so assists in the cell death. There are synthetic tissue adhesive. You know, this is an advance in the surgical procedures where these adhesives can cure the surgical incisions in a very short time. There is also a device for opening the blood-brain barrier with ultrasound. You know, the blood-brain barrier is a major challenge in front of the drugs for the brain. For example, the chemotherapeutics for the malignant tumors of the brain, the Alzheimer's disease or neurodegenerative disease. You know that blood-brain barrier prevents the drugs from going to be delivered to their destiny. Okay, so with the ultrasound, with this technique, the blood-brain barrier is opened in a short time, where we deliver the drug inside the tissues, and then it's removed. There is an artificial kidney, and we hope in the coming few years it will be perfect, and it can, through the cells of the tubules of the kidney, can secrete also the hormones that the kidney secrete. There is a cartilage regeneration that was a major challenge in front of the tissue engineering. You know that because the cartilage is a cellular, building cartilage is very difficult. There is also this bionic man wears a glucose sensing contacts. He wears a contact lens that can measure the glucose in the patient, and this is also another technique that is very important because it does not need breaking the finger to get blood to measure the glucose. It's monitored through the contact lenses. There is what is called the tongue drive. There is a robotic leg prosthesis and spinal stimulation for paralysis. All these devices are present in this bionic man. So we can have some stretching. This is the pyramids, the 3 pyramids at El Giza and Sphinx. This is the Grand Egyptian Museum that will be opening soon beside the pyramids. So to get backwards, what have we taken from the this presentation? We discussed the timeline of medicine from multiple disciplines to specialization to subspecialization, and then the team works through multidisciplinary research in the past decade. And now we come to the era of the interdisciplinary and the multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary research. And then we travel through the future through the research projects that are granted by the National Institute of Health. We have the gene editing, we have decoding of the disease, and we know that there are the somatic cell genome project, which is a major project funded by the National Institute of Health. There is ethical concerns about the germ cell decoding. Then we went through the rehabilitation engineering, where there is prosthetic limbs, prosthetic valves, prosthetic organs. And there are also sensory prostheses as the bionic eye, which is a prototype. It's not perfect till now, but it gives a vision that we can have a more advanced technology in this issue. There is a cochlear implants also. We had navigated through the what is called the organ 3D printing. And we have the issue of Paolo Macchiarini, where he rushed to transplant these 3D printed tissues before having the evidence that it is safe and secure in the humans. And that's what we mean by we should be restrict in these ethical issues. We have seen what is done by the advances in the 3D printing and the tissue engineering. Now we can go through the advances in imaging, the drug delivery system, and the telehealth. What about the imaging? There is now what is called the robot-assisted needle guidance. It aids nowadays in the removal of liver tumors. You know, and now the open surgeries for liver tumors are becoming less today's because of the advances in the in other techniques, such as the embolization or the other more advanced techniques. There is also what is called the radio frequency ablation, which is a minimally invasive treatment that kills tumor with heat and does not need open surgeries, especially in patients with poor general conditions. I think you will have a lecture about some of the endoscopy assisted techniques also with Dr. Matkour. There is what is called the swallowable capsule, and it has been invented a few decades before, but it's now more perfect because it does not only identify the endoscopic lesion, but also it can take a biopsy from it. This swallowable capsule is mainly used for the not only because it's less invasive than the routine endoscopy, but it can reach areas in the GIT that cannot be reached by the regular endoscopy, namely the small intestine. This is the capsule that is swallowed by the patient. The patient comes fasting as usual and swallows the capsule, and the operation is completed within 12 hours. We can now transfer to what is called the drug delivery system. You know that we can take drugs by oral, by venous, intramuscular, by injections, through inhalation, okay, or topical. These are the drug delivery systems that we know, all of us knows. But now there are engineered technologies for targeted delivery and controlled delivery of therapeutic agents. You know, when you give the patients a chemotherapy, okay, you know that not the tumor only that dies, but also the hematopoietic cells dies. All the dividing cells in the body are affected. The GIT mucosa is affected. So there are extreme side effects that prevents the physicians from giving a lethal dose to this tumor because it will be lethal to the body. What if we have an assisted technology that delivers the specific drug to the specific site at a specific dose that kills this specific tissue, it will have a perfect impact on medicine, okay? These drug delivery systems controls the rate and the destination and the process of release, okay? The drug delivery system includes also novel routes of delivery. This is a batch. This batch is a vaccine. You know, it's very easy to be put on the skin. It contains micro needle arrays that are more fine than a hair, than a hair shaft. It's all what is done, the patient can do, it's to put it on his skin. And that the vaccine is delivered into his body. It does not need refrigeration. It does not need a doctor or even a nurse to deliver the vaccine. So this delivery system is perfect for low socioeconomic countries and areas where there is low health care. So the vaccines can be delivered in this way with no need for doctors, with no need for refrigeration, okay? This is about the delivery route of delivery. What about the vehicle of the delivery? What is the vehicle that will carry the drug to its destination? You know, the nanotechnology, these are minute particles that are seen by the electron microscopy. Yes, that are seen by the electron microscopy. Okay, these nanoparticles can target a specific organ. Okay, we can put a suicidal gene, a chemotherapy, a specific drug on this vehicle to reach its destiny. But what is these nanoparticles formed of? There are three types of these nanoparticles. It can be an inorganic material, as that shown in the figure. These are silica rods that are very tiny. This is an electron microscopic picture where we can incorporate the drug on this inorganic material to reach its destiny. Also, bacteria DNA can be used. You know that the bacteria searches for a low oxygen tension, okay? And then you know that the tumors have low oxygen inside them because of the poor vascularity. And you know that the malignant tumors undergo ischemic necrosis because of the oxygen deficiency. So let's think together. If we have our vehicle as a bacteria and we assist it through a magnetic field to go to this low oxygen tension tumors and carry the suicidal gene to kill this tumor. This can be a new approach or a new type of targeted therapy. So these nano vaccines or nano drugs can be inorganic material, bacterial DNA, or viral nanoparticles. The viral nanoparticles have also another benefit because they can slip through the past the immune response. They can the immune response, the immune defense mechanism cannot see them. Okay. Our challenges are the crossing the blood-brain barrier, and as I told you in the Bionic Man, he has a system that can, through the ultrasound, break the blood-brain barrier for a while so that the drug enters the brain and then it regains to the normal blood-brain barrier. And also there is what is called the enhancing targeted intracellular delivery, and we discussed the idea of the nanoparticles that can be inorganic, bacterial DNA, or even viral particles that carry the therapy towards its destiny. We are close to the end, but we need to know what is the term theranostics. Theranostics. It's two parts, theranostics. Can anyone guess what does it mean, theranostics? What the thera means? Therapy, diagnosis, okay? Theranostics means therapy and diagnosis. It means a technology that combines the therapy and diagnosis into a single procedure or a molecule. So the coming or the future of medicine carries this hope, where we, through a single procedure or a single molecule, the diagnosis and the therapy can be done in one step. Bioengineers are now building multifunctional nanoparticles that can be introduced into a patient, find the disease, diagnose the condition, and deliver appropriate personalized therapy. This will be a big hope, and we hope we can see this in the near future. Theranostics is combining the therapy and the diagnosis in a single procedure. This is a temple in Abu Simbel where there is a solar alignment to Ramses II in his birthday and when he became the king of Egypt. And this is Luxor, where there is the largest open museum on the earth. Finally, what is telehealth? Telehealth is the use of communication technologies to provide health at a distance. It's through the mobile phone, for example, that one can provide diagnostics, for example, can monitor the patient condition as the blood pressure, the lipid profile, glucose level, for example, heart congestion before the patient enters in, for example, patients with atrial fibrillation or other cardiac disease before the case is presents with emergency. There can be a side-by-side monitoring for this patient through these devices. And through simple apps that can be, when it's globalized, reaches the global reach, can be less costly, okay? You know that when there is a remote patient monitoring, the patient will go to the hospital only when he needs. And when he arrives to the hospital, most of the investigations can be present to his doctor. And this is called the point of care. It's testing and treating patients at sites close to them through these apps and these communication technologies. The results of this monitoring and the results of these apps and the results of these investigations and what we called the contact lens that measures the glucose, all these data can be sent to the doctor remotely, that he can decide a personalized prompt interaction with his patient. Finally, we have our recommendations. We should respect the ethical guidelines. It's perfect to have enthusiasm, to be courageous in performing our work, but we need to be evidence-based. We need to respect the guidelines. We need to move step by step by the animal models, then before going to the first, second, and third clinical trials, and not to rush, as Paolo Macchiarini, through these steps, jump these steps in this short time, because it leads to fatal conditions. We need to treat the next generation with the insight of the interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary mindset. There is training programs for the undergraduates, as I told you, offered by the National Institute of Health. We should know what is the global reach, and in medicine we should work together in teams, not every country alone, but we need to have international projects with each other. We need to identify the problems to be addressed and not to work in isolation from the world. And finally, there should be community engagement. We should solve the problems of our communities. And this is the basis of the interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary research. These are the videos of what I delivered to you. And also the PDFs of research articles and of the National Institute of Health. I will put them in the chat now.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Dr. Hebat, thanks a lot for giving us an insight into the future, which looks absolutely permissible and absolutely brilliant from this point of view. According to diagnosis, according to treatment, even those challenging worldwide problems such as cancer, such as cardiac diseases, such as diagnostic and such as brain diseases and spine diseases. And it was so apparent from your point of view to see how bright the future is coming for the medicine. Thank you very much for this amazing lectures, for your time spent on us, and thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you too.
Of course, Dr. Hebat, there's a question. Can we have a time for questions if there will be a little time for questions?
Yes, it's
okay. Great, guys. If any of you have a question, Dr. Hebat is here ready to answer them for you. You can use the chat, or you can use your microphone. Okay.
Okay, I have a question here. First of all, I was really wowed by this lecture. I was planning to hear things as Dr. Hebatullah used to give us in the university, but actually what I've heard was inspiring. In fact, frankly, I was planning to enjoy this session while having lunch. Let's open the camera. Here, I'm having lunch today, but I didn't manage to eat my lunch because I wanted my attention to be here concentrated at this lecture. Anyway, I just have a question out of curiosity. What are the career pathways that a medical student, because I guess all the participants here are somehow involved in the medical field, how a medical student could be involved in one of these aspects that may formulate the future of medicine? I'm sure that scientific research is one of the critical pillars for such advances in science, but are there any other career pathways that a medical student could be involved in the future after graduating or after preparing even some postgraduate studies to be involved in one of these aspects that may form the future of medicine?
I hope that you will not wait to be graduated. I would like that you all be involved in research projects. I think you don't need to take another measure or we will go to the past, okay? But you need to have to be engaged with a team from multiple disciplines. That's what I mean. You cannot be a bioengineering and a medical student, and you cannot have all these disciplines, but we can work together. And when you work in research with others, you get to know what you need to know to achieve a specific problem. So what we need to think of is not what I will study today to be specialized, for example, in some or what I'm thinking of a research about. I will do a research on a certain topic. No, we need to be community-based. What do I mean? I mean that we have a problem in our community, so we can see how to manage this problem, to solve this problem. What are the disciplines that we need to solve this problem? And as a result, we can build our team. At Helwani University, we decided to do this. We are building an interdisciplinary center, research center in Helwani University, because we are aware of this problem. For example, we will see what is the problem that we are facing now, and what are the disciplines that are, then we work together. When we work together, we get experience from each other. Okay, without being obliged to, for example, be know too much about information technology, but you should know how to deal with it. Okay, you can work with information technologists to create the brain, for example, interface. Okay, brain-computer interface. You as a medical student and your colleague as an information technology student, you can work together. When you work together, you get information about him and he gets information, some medical information, okay? Also,
basically it's about making collaboration with other people.
I want to tell you that that the drive has the PDFs of the National Institute of Health. The third one is the opportunities for the undergraduate students to for the interdisciplinary training. Okay, so being involved in these disciplines, it's or this interdisciplinary training is, I think it will be beneficial. So I advise, or I recommend that you can be involved in interdisciplinary research project when you are a student. Try to have international collaborations, not only in your country. You should have international collaborators and be involved in interdisciplinary or transdisciplinary project, even with the minor role, until you build up your career. You can't know today what will be your...
So like the key is to build collaborations. But yeah, so the key here is just to build collaboration with other people in their fields towards
and be engaged in research projects. Yes, and to be engaged, because this is the way that you will have the insight for the future. You will know what you are more brilliant in. You will know what your community needs more. Okay. And for example, the most successful team in Egypt was the team working on the hepatitis C virus. Okay, this was the most perfect team. Okay, and they worked with other disciplines, not in an interdisciplinary research project, a huge project, but they worked with engineers, for example, for the fibroscanning of hepatitis, for example. Okay, they worked with the endemic doctors, worked with those of imaging and those with oncologists. Okay, but also with engineering.
Thank you, doctor, for this clarification.
Thank you, Dr. Hebat. Thanks to you a lot.
Doctor, I have a question.
Yes.
As someone who is well acquainted on the latest achievements in the area of medicine, how do you recommend that we as aspiring students or students who would like to become researchers, what field of the aforementioned advances do you recommend that we work on, or that we direct our focus to, so we can contribute to those advances? And what are the research opportunities for us to participate in, either as collaborators or as authors? What are those opportunities that you see in sight, and what do you suggest that we focus on when we aim at doing research in the future?
Okay, in Egypt, even in Georgia, I think you should be community acquainted. Try to have a research team with other collaborators from other faculties in the same university, then in other university, to address a certain problem. Okay, try firstly to have your research project with a team. Then try also parallel to this to have international collaboration. Try until you succeed. You can fail once, twice, thrice, and so on. It's not a problem, but try to apply to these programs I presented to you. The third one is training programs for the undergraduates. Try to be involved in any of the training programs for the interdisciplinary research. And as I told you, be community-minded as much as possible. Addressing the complex community problems with multiple disciplines will make you trained to do this type of research before you are graduated. There is a major problem in most of our cultures that we work separately, and we need to change this mindset and work together, work to other disciplines, not only with the medical students. Try to build a team with your students, your colleagues in the information technology, faculty of information technology and artificial intelligence. Try to make an app, for example, with them. Try to collaborate with your colleagues in the faculty of arts, for example, and humanities, and the faculty of education and the psychology department. Try to manage the problems. I think when you go to your community problems, for example, the psychological problems of the medical students, okay, this is a multidisciplinary and transdisciplinary research, because it's a complex problem. It needs a medical, a neuropsychiatrist. It needs a psychology from the faculty of education or arts. You need multiple disciplines, sociology, okay, and try to, for example, solve this issue through a research project. This is some of the topics that you find, or a problem that you face every day in your medical school, or the stress due to COVID, or the stress due to the medical study as a whole. There are, you can invent apps with your colleagues in the Faculty of Engineering and the Faculty of Information Technology. Try to see what is the problem and then to solve it. What are the steps to solve it? What are the disciplines that I need to solve it? And build the coalition to solve this complex problem. This is the basis of the interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary research, to work together with multiple disciplines to solve a specific issue, and not to do a research work only. No, it's our aim is to solve a problem.
Well,
and then build a
well, if we were to publish the paper,
now you know there are students from Georgia. Take your the contacts with each other. Try to make collaboration with Georgia now, and try to build a team addressing the problems that you both face now. Try now. Why not? Put your contacts now in the chat and try to make a collaboration with each other. You are medical students, you are brilliant, and try together to have a research project together.
Well, I think that's a great idea. I'm going to create a WhatsApp group now, and I'm going to put the invite link in the chat for anyone who would like to join. Thank you. That's a great idea. I'm going to do it right now.
Thank you. Any questions, guys? Okay. So far, there are no questions. Dr. Hebat, thank you. Thanks a lot for a brilliant lecture, for this insight into future, which is very promising, which is very bright. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot for you. I'm very honored to have you all. Thank you all.
Thanks a lot. So far, there are no questions. So we have plenty of positive feedbacks. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot. Thanks to all.
Okay, if no one has a question, we can end this session. Thank once again, Dr. Hebat, for this brilliant lecture. And so, goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you all.
Goodbye, Dr. Hebat.
Goodbye.